Hey, what's going on, everyone? Axel here. So today we're going to be talking about my experiences with the Xbox One. And before we get started, just to tell you a couple things. As you can see, I changed the layout of my room a little bit, changed my computer around. So hopefully this makes for a better looking background. You can see my living room and some of my games behind me and everything. So just hopefully this looks nicer just overall for the channel. I'm trying to look for ways to improve it. So yeah, that's really the only thing I wanted to say before I started. So let's go ahead and get to the topic. So as I've mentioned in my previous videos, and as some of you have you heard me talk about before, I recently got an Xbox One, and it's been almost 6 months since I got the Xbox One. So I wanted to make a video today just going over my experiences with the Xbox One as someone who's never owned a Xbox Microsoft console. And I want to talk about what I think about the console itself, the hardware, and then I want to go into the games I've bought since this past 6 months since I've owned the console, what I think about them, what my overall experiences are like about these games, just that kind of thing. That's what I want to talk about today. So hopefully you all enjoy. So let's start with my story about how I got an Xbox One, why I decided to get that versus the PS4. So I got my Xbox One around Black Friday week this past November because I've been thinking about getting an Xbox One or a PS4. I really wanted to experience some of the AAA games that have come out in the past few years. Up until that point, I mainly had been gaming only on my Wii U and my PC a little bit. Although since I don't support digital generally, I don't buy a whole lot from Steam, so I don't really enjoy playing AAA games on my PC, so I really hadn't experienced a lot of the AAA titles. So I really wanted to get I thought it was time for me to get one of the new gen consoles, and the decision between a PS4 and Xbox One was something I thought about for a long time, actually. And but when it came Black Friday week, when I saw those deals on consoles, I knew I had to make a decision. So essentially what it boiled down to is the Xbox One's price versus the PS4's price, the controllers, and the utility that both consoles offered. So the price, the Xbox One definitely won on the price. If you look at the market right now and also the used market, Xbox Ones tend to go for a little bit cheaper than PS4s. When I was looking at used and refurbished Xbox One versus used and refurbished PS4s, and they're running anywhere from like $30 to $50 cheaper than a comparable PS4. Well, let's talk about the graphics, of course. The AAA titles look a little bit better on the PS4. Not a lot to really matter. A lot of AAA titles in the Xbox One will run on, say, 900p versus 1080p on the PS4. As you can see behind me, I have a lot of consoles set up that I have an NES sitting over there. I have a PS2 sitting right there. So I really don't care about graphics, especially when it's that minute of a difference. So that wasn't even a deciding factor for me. So it came down essentially to the price and the utility, which I haven't talked about yet, the utility. I think that the Xbox One definitely won in utility just because of its backwards compatibility with Xbox 360. And that was the main reason I went with an Xbox One over a PS4, was just that kind of utility. Not just the price. The Xbox Ones were cheap and I got a really good deal on the one I got, but also the backwards compatibility portion. I wanted to check out some of the Xbox 360 games. As far as exclusives between the PS4 and the Xbox One, I didn't really feel that strongly either way. So yeah, that was essentially the reason. For the utility the Xbox One offered, and the fact that I'd never owned a Microsoft console before, I went with the Xbox One. Even though there was one caveat of it. When I compared the controllers, I like the PS4 controller a lot better. Initially, when I was in the game store, I tried them both, and really since they came out over the years, I've tried out both controllers many times in game stores, and I like the PS4s a lot more. Like, it felt natural. The Xbox One controller here, I didn't like it as much, but I felt like I would get used to it if I owned it and I played with it regularly. That hasn't really come to be true. It still annoys me. I still don't like this controller very much. And that's one thing I'll talk about later at the end of this video when I give you the verdict on whether I am happy I went with an Xbox One or not. So let's go ahead and get started. So with kind of my story. I know I've kind of dragged on here. So I decided to make the purchase in November over Black Friday week. I made the purchase. I got a great deal on my Xbox One. I actually only paid $160 for it, and I got the original model Xbox One, $160 with a 1 TB hard drive. I was actually only supposed to get a 500 GB hard drive, but I guess they sent me the wrong one, so that was a nice bonus. But still, so I got a killer deal on it, and I got it in the mail, and I immediately went to the game store to buy some of the games I wanted to try out. So let's go ahead and start, and I'll talk about all the games I picked up since then. Some of these I've briefly talked about in other videos, so I'll try to go over those a little bit more quickly. But when I initially went to the game store, the first 3 games I bought were these 3. Well, I'll just go through them. And I bought 3 because the game store had a 2-for-1 deal. So this was one game I really wanted to try out. I'd heard nothing but terrible things about it, but Star Wars Battlefront. This is one thing when I saw it initially in the reveal trailer years ago, and when it first came out, like, I saw the graphics, I saw how amazing it looked, and I'm a huge fan of the Battlefront games on the PS2, so I really wanted to try this out, even though I heard it was terrible. And it was fun for a little while, but yeah, it's not a very good game. What really annoys me the most about it is just how much of the content is locked behind the DLC paywall. You hardly get any content at all on the disc. It's like you get like a third of the game on the disc, and like 2/3 of it is locked behind the paywall, it seems. There's really not much to do in this game, and it really annoys me because Battlefront's a game, there's a lot of shooters like Call of Duty, Battlefield, things like that, which I love playing online. I love playing those kind of games multiplayer, but Battlefront is a third-person shooter that I've always enjoyed playing against bots a lot more than actual people. I just feel like the gameplay style of this game just translated terribly to multiplayer, and that's what they want to do with this game, is push multiplayer. And I just don't think it worked. Like, the auto aim feature just makes battles just kind of cheesy. Also, the progression system wasn't very good. You were too weak at the start. You had to get a lot of level ups before you stopped getting your ass kicked online. So I didn't like this one, but it's not worth enough for me to return it. The next game I got was Dead Rising 3. And I got it because I'm a big fan of survival horror games. I love them. Like, I love Resident Evil 4. I like ZombiU on the Wii U. I love that game, one of my favorite games on the Wii U. So I picked up Dead Rising 3 knowing that it was one of the more highly rated, highly renowned zombie games on the system. So I got it. I put maybe 10 hours into it, and I ended up quitting. And the thing with this game is it's a good game, but it's just not what I wanted out of a zombie game. This is more I didn't like the crafting system in it. I didn't like the fact that your weapons break all the time. It felt more like an adventure game to me than a survival horror game. It's really not a survival horror game as much as it is just kind of an action beat 'em up. So it's just not what I wanted out of a zombie game. So good game, but it just wasn't for me necessarily. So I don't know what I'll do with this one. I may end up selling it. The last game I got initially from my initial bundle I bought from the game store was Lords of the Fallen, and I haven't actually gotten to play this one yet, just because I got Skyrim, which I played instead. And this is a game that it's more of a, I don't know a lot about the game because I haven't played it, but it's more in line with a kind of adventure fantasy themed game. And since I got Skyrim, I wanted to play that game instead, obviously, since it's a much better game. I don't know that this is a bad game necessarily, but of course it's not as good as Skyrim. Skyrim's one of the best games of all time. So very quickly after that, I picked up the game that really spurred me to get an Xbox One PS4, and that game was Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. I'm a huge fan of the first Deus Ex, which I played through on the Wii U. There's also versions on the PS3 and Xbox 360. But this game, obviously wasn't going to be released on the Wii U at that point in the Wii U's life. Really, after the first year or two of the Wii U's life, it didn't get hardly any third-party support, so it wasn't going to happen regardless. But this game is really the reason I got an Xbox, because I loved the series. And I liked the game. It was good, but it wasn't as good as the first one. It was a lot shorter. It was probably like half the length as Human Revolution when you add in all the Human Revolution DLC. And but it wasn't bad. It was good. I enjoyed it, but it left me wanting more. So um, despite the fact that they're trying to really monetize this with DLC and microtransactions are even in this game, which is stupid since it's not even multiplayer, it's a single player campaign. It's really dumb. So but despite that, I'm going to buy the sequels. I know there's more sequels coming out for it, so I'll buy them. May not necessarily buy them day one if it's 60, 80 bucks for the game plus DLC and crap, which I haven't bought any of the DLC. But it's still a really good game, and I really enjoyed it. And this was actually the first game on the Xbox One that I beat all the way through. So, a game which I don't have anymore because I sold it was Halo 5 Guardians. I didn't like this game at all, and I played it hard for probably a few weekends and probably a few weeks. And the campaign just I wasn't enjoying it. The multiplayer was pretty good, pretty fun, but I could tell there's a really high learning curve, and I just didn't want to sink the kind of time into it that it would take for me to get good at it. Like I'm too used to like Call of Duty, which is actually a game I'm good at. But a game like Halo 5, I just knew it would take time, and I just didn't really enjoy it that much. So I sold it, and it was one of the generally as a game I heard a lot of other people didn't enjoy it, even hardcore Halo fans, which I'm really not. The next game I got was one of the first games I got with the Games for Gold. And I don't have it physically. Actually, it's not even. They didn't have a physical release. It's Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which is an Xbox 360 game. This is the second game I beat on my Xbox One all the way through, and it was great because this is a game I got to play. Got to take advantage of the backwards compatibility to play because this is a 360 game. Awesome game. Really fun shooter. And if you haven't played this, I highly recommend you pick it up. It has a ridiculous story. It's 80s themed, so it has some awesome 80s music in it. It's actually a really good soundtrack. A lot of really funny things in it. Like there's even a button that you can like flick people off after you kill them. It's really funny. Like really good game. One of my more favorite games that I've played on Xbox One so far. So after that, the next game I picked up, and the games as I'm showing you is the order in which I picked them up, by the way. Next game I got was South Park: Stick of Truth on the 360. I played really. It's not. I want to play this game. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I have played it some. I've played maybe 3 or 4 hours. It's really fun. Really fun RPG. It's hilarious. I love South Park. I'm a huge South Park fan, so I want to play this eventually. And I know how great of a game it is. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I'll get to it someday. Another game. Taking advantage of the backwards compatibility, I don't think I could have played this on the PS4. Unless there's a PS4 version, which I don't think there is. Although, I think they are releasing some kind of digital version with the upcoming South Park game, the new one. Okay, so the big hitter. This is the next game. This is the game I've spent the most, invested the most hours into on my Xbox One. And I've mentioned it already, the Elder Scrolls Skyrim Special Edition. This is this isn't the 360 version, as you can see. It's the Xbox One version, so it has updated graphics and all that stuff. And I like this game a lot. I'm not like obsessed with this game by any means, like a lot of people are. I'm not overly happy with it. I can't say I like this more than Deus Ex. I like Deus Ex more. I put about 60 hours or so into this, maybe a little more, and it's fun. Don't get me wrong, it's really fun, but it's just the kind of game that, as you might have seen in my recent video that I put out probably a couple weeks ago now, where I talk about game changes as I get older. I reference this game a lot in that video when I talked about just basically as you get older how your taste in games changes, and this is one example of that. Great game. I totally see why this is acclaimed as one of the best games of all time. I totally see it. But I don't really have time to really invest myself so much into this game, into the lore, because this is a game where you have to get invested in the lore. You have to get invested in the stories and the locations. Because when you strip Skyrim down and you take away the lore and the big open world, there's not a lot to it. It's a very simple game in terms of its mechanics. The leveling system's very simple. The combat system's very simple. Where you get the most enjoyment out of this game is just wandering through the world and learning about the lore and I just haven't taken the time yet to really learn enough about Skyrim. Like, I feel like I would appreciate this game so much more if I invested myself into the story and really read through some Skyrim books, but I just haven't done that, and I don't know if I care to do that. And if you're not totally invested in the lore, in the world, it essentially it becomes a very simple game. It basically go from point to point, swing your weapon. There's not a lot of, what I'm trying to say, there's not a lot of complexity to it outside of the lore and the exploration aspect. So fun game. I don't know if I'll get super invested into it. Maybe I will in the future. I hope to beat this eventually. I did a lot of the side quests. I've done some of the DLC on it. Actually, I completed one of the DLC first. I didn't even mean to, but fun game. I'll probably beat this main storyline in the future. I don't know if I'll be one of these people who spends 1,000 hours in this game, though. I very much doubt it. Very good game, though. And I'm glad I picked it up. Okay, next game. This is probably my biggest disappointment so far on the Xbox One. This is a big AAA title I picked up several months ago. Battlefield 1. This thing got such great ratings, and for good reason. But I found out it's just not for me. The maps look incredible. The game modes are really cool. Historically, it's not like all that accurate with all the submachine guns in it, but the maps are beautiful. The stories are good. The campaign, I haven't beat the campaign, but it's still pretty good as far as the campaign goes. But what I was really disappointed about in this game, and I think it has some flaws that are overlooked, is the class balance is not very good. The class I really like playing the most, support, is just pretty underpowered in this game. And what I really dislike the most about it compared to other shooter games like Call of Duty that I like, Black Ops 2, for example, the maps, while they're beautiful, they don't function that well for me in multiplayer. Like, I don't mean for me personally, just from my perspective. The problem with the maps in this game is they're all so wide open, and that means that most of the engagements in multiplayer are going to be long range. So it becomes a game of hiding behind cover and going toe to toe with, not toe to toe with people, if like face to face. Most of the combat is long range combat where you're trying to outsnipe people, and I just don't enjoy that. I like the more in your face combat with shotguns and submachine guns, and I like being really aggressive in my shooters, and this is a much more defensive shooter than something like Call of Duty. So that's why I don't enjoy it as much. It takes a lot more patience, which I don't know if I have. You can't really play a rushdown play style in this game and do well in multiplayer. You have to play a very patient, campy play style. I just didn't enjoy that much. So I'm probably going to sell this. I need to sell it soon before the value drops too much. But yeah, I see why it was an acclaimed shooter, but it just wasn't for me, and I just didn't enjoy. I'm just not enjoying it that much. Yeah. And also the leveling system could be a lot better. A lot of the guns feel pretty bland, pretty much the same. So let's go to my next purchase, which is one you've seen a lot on this channel, and that is Doom. And I've showed a lot of footage from the original Doom. I bought this, and this is one of my better purchases. This is, again, a 360 game. It's Doom 3, but it also includes Doom 2 and Doom 1. And I bought this kind of on impulse, but I'm really glad I did, because I wanted to play Doom 1 really bad, because I never really got a chance to play it. And this was only $5. this game, you can find it for $5, so it was like an easy buy. I don't think I'll even play Doom 3. I mainly bought this for Doom 1, and I love Doom 1. It's awesome. As you can see, I've been playing the crap out of Doom 1. I beat the first campaign. I'm on the second one right now, and yeah, it's an awesome game. I've been using it a lot as footage in this channel, and I'll try to use it a little less, because I'm sure you guys are getting sick of seeing it. I've used it for probably 3 or 4 videos, and I'll try to mix it up a little bit more. Okay, and the last batch of games, we're almost done. These are the games I bought recently. And the first batch of games, actually, before I talk about these, I want to talk about another games with gold game called Outlast, which is kind of a horror survival game. I played maybe 5 hours into it. Maybe it's a really fun game, basically, where you wander around this asylum, and you have to try to find your way out. And the unique thing about the game is that unlike other like games like Resident Evil and other horror games, you have no weapons, you're completely helpless. So it's kind of fun, but I found myself just preferring other games. I don't know. Maybe I'll get around to it eventually, but it's one of the more fun games with gold that I ended up getting. So, okay. The games I've gotten recently, very recently, this is within the past couple weeks. I got a couple compilations. The first compilation I got was Atari Flashbacks, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Each of these has 50 original Atari games on it, and I'm really enjoying these games a lot. The Atari 2600 and the 7800 are games systems that I have a lot of respect for. The Atari 2600, I'm too young to have ever been alive when that was relevant. I was born in the 80s, but the Atari was it's so underappreciated by a lot of gamers today. Like a lot of gamers will see it and be like, "Oh, those are crap games just because the graphics are very primitive." But a lot of these games are actually more complex than you would think, and I'm really excited to get into a game like Adventure, which is included in here. I'm really enjoying games like Haunted House is a really fun Atari game. There's a lot of them that I really like and really enjoy, and there's something special and nostalgic, even though I don't have personal nostalgia for it. There's something kind of special about just like turning one of these Atari games on in the middle of the night with no lights on, just by yourself, and just being by yourself alone with a low graphics, really simple graphics Atari game with those Atari sounds. It's really fun, and I've really having a lot of fun so far with these. I've maybe invested like 5 hours into this, so there's a lot of games I haven't really got into yet, but really enjoying it. The next compilation I got was Rare Replay, which was kind of I had to buy this. I don't know when I'll play this, but this is only like $12 at this point. It has 30 rare games. It has all the Banjo-Kazooie games on it. It has Perfect Dark Zero. It has like Battletoads on it. What else? It has a lot of really good rare games. And Banjo-Kazooie I might play eventually just because it's a classic that I've never gotten around to playing. But it's a great collection. If you have an Xbox One, I'd definitely get it. And this is also exclusive to the Xbox One. So that's kind of a plus for me personally. So really fun game. The only thing that pissed me off about this is this is a 50 gigabyte game and only 12 gigabytes of it is on the disc. You have to actually download the other 38 gigabytes from the store, and that really pissed me off because I didn't know that. And when I buy I don't understand, like when I buy a physical copy, I want the game to be on the disc, and I'm just like, ugh. I mean, it just pissed me off. I mean, I like to think, I like to know that in 10 years I'll be able to put this game off take it off the shelf and play it. Like if I ever say I need to reinstall this game for some reason in 10 years, but the Microsoft servers are down, like it's stupid. Like we're gonna have a GIMP. Whoever plays this game in 10-15 years is gonna have a GIMP game because the servers are down. They can't download the other 3/4 of the file or whatever. So whatever. Small rant aside, here's a couple games, 2 games that I really want to get into. The Evil Within, which was a game by Bethesda. I haven't gotten around to playing this yet. I'm going to start playing it tonight if I get time after recording this video. It's a survival horror game, and again, I've been disappointed by a couple of Xbox One games now, specifically Dead Rising. As far as zombie survival horror games go, Dead Rising really wasn't my cup of tea, and neither was oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it. I just talked about it. Outlast, that I just talked about. So I've read that this one's a lot more like Resident Evil 4. I've tried to stay away from reviews because I don't want that to kind of warp my perception of it. I want to have an independent opinion of this game and just give it a shot. One really cool thing about this game, though, is it comes with this cover, which is really nice, and it actually comes with a manual in full color, which is so weird, which is so not weird, but something that you don't see much these days in releases today. Most games have gone away from paper manuals, and I love that this one has included it. So that gives this game a +1 in my book already. I love that when we get actual physical manuals. The next game is I bought this one mainly because of how much I enjoyed Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, and just how much I like the time period. Far Cry Primal. This came out last year, I believe. So again, I bought this because I really like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, and the fact that this takes place in a prehistoric setting is really cool. Like, I haven't played a game in this setting since like Turok, maybe, on the PS2. So awesome. I hope I enjoy it. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to play The Evil Within first, but we'll see. We'll see if this is as good as I hope it is. So we'll see. But I'm excited to play this eventually. In the last game, this is actually a game I got today. It's an old Xbox One game. It's Gears of War, the original for the 360, and I bought it today actually because I was browsing through a GameStop, and I normally don't support GameStop, but I normally just go there to browse. But I saw that they only wanted $3 for this game, and I was actually looking through some old Gears of War stuff on eBay last night, and the cheapest I found on eBay was like $6.50. So I'm like, eh. And that was used, by the way. So I saw it for $3. I'm like, all right, I have to get it. I have never played a Gears of War game, and I'm getting it just to give that series a shot. It's one of the exclusive franchises on the Xbox One. So if I enjoy this, maybe I'll get Gears of War 4, which is the newest Gears of War game. I'm not going to buy Gears of War 4 right now just because I'm not going to spend that much money on a game that I may not like. So I'll give the first one a shot, see if I like the gameplay. If it is, maybe I'll buy the newest version with the better graphics and all that on the Xbox One. So guys, that's all the games I've bought. That's about 15 games or so that I've bought in the past 6 months. These are all the Xbox One games I have currently. Some I haven't played yet, some I have played. Some I've had really good experiences with, some I've been disappointed in. So I want to end the video with my overall impressions of the system after about 6 months of owning it. Am I glad I bought it? Do I wish I would have bought a PS4 instead? I have to be honest. I do wish I would have bought a PS4 instead. While I've enjoyed some of the 360 games, in particular Far Cry Blood Dragon, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, and I don't think I've gotten enough out of the backwards compatibility to make that worth it for me. And I don't think that well, really that's it. The utility that the Xbox One sold me on, I'm not really getting enough out of. So I would rather have the extra tiny bit of graphics power to the PS4. But the number one reason by far that I wish I would have gotten a PS4 goes back to this controller, which I mentioned in the intro. I still don't like the Xbox One controller. I don't know what it is. I just can't get used to it. I hate the bumpers. The sticks are too small for my taste. And yeah, it's just not comfortable for me. I hate this D-pad. I could rant about this D-pad all day. It's like, this isn't even a D-pad. It looks like a D-pad, but it doesn't really function as a D-pad because it's essentially 4 separate buttons. So, but it's hard to do like multi-directional inputs. I just don't like it. It's too clicky. I've tried to play like particularly Atari flashback games with this. It's just a pain in the butt. So yeah, I just don't like it. I find the PS4 controller a lot more comfortable, and despite me using this for 6 months, I still haven't gotten used to it. So yeah, so overall, I do wish I would have gone on the PS4, but it's okay. I did get a killer deal on the Xbox One. The controller is manageable, even though it's one of my least favorite controllers I've ever used. And there are always third-party controller options, which I've thought about, which should be able to solve this problem in the future. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. Please comment below. Let me know what you think about any of the games I've talked about. If you agree with my opinion, disagree. If you own an Xbox One, why don't you write down below and tell me about your experiences? I would be interested in reading that. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you like, please share, subscribe, all that stuff so you can see my videos in the future. And yeah, that's going to be it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time. Take care.